Welcome to today's episode. This is episode 1. We're going to see how this comes about, what happens, but I am here with Elise and Carson. They're helping me put this all together on the technical back end, and they're also amazing people, so they're going to be interacting with me a bit throughout this conversation to bring, just more clarification to you, the listener. So, hi, I'm Toph. Elise, do you want to maybe, because you were doing something, so let's just go with that.
I'm Elise. This is my voice. Welcome to me.
Hi.
I just am intrigued by you. This is my first time meeting you. I kind of want to know a little bit of your background, your story, kind of what direction do you want to go with your podcast? What's your message?
Okay, cool. So the first thing that I bounce to is just okay, let's get the human story. We'll touch on that, and then we'll go into different sides, because all of us have so much multidimensionality. So that's really hard saying, who am I? What do I do? Because we can all give a million different answers to that at any moment in time, right? Especially if there's predominant energies that are just sitting with us, then that's the story that we're going to tell. And that's how you get into created reality based on how you feel. But anyway, that'll be on another episode. So the first thing that I thought of was, about 6 or 7 years ago, I started to become aware of myself, aware of my patterns, aware that oh wait, there's a voice in my head that's saying negative things. But wait, there's somebody watching that voice. And so now taking the power to that observer and using that observer to then question, well, who are you? To the negative things that were illusory. So that process started, it's probably been 7 years.
Was there something that kind of was a catalyst
in
that?
The biggest catalyst was curiosity. My own curiosity for, there's got to be more to reality than working a job and running the systematic pattern of life. As things go, it kind of just fell into my lap. I feel like it was brought on by my partner at the time, looking for different things, and she landed on something that sparked curiosity, and then opened up my curiosity as well. And it was network spinal analysis. I just said that really weird, but NSA is a form of chiropractic where they're really interfacing with your energetic system, with your nervous system, and they're tuning you into these different energy waves that are always happening around us. So basically, they're supplementing energy into your nervous system, which then removes blockages or shifts. It's shaking loose the blockages in our nervous system, those fractures, those traumas. And so after every session that I would do, it was always 6 days later, some old pattern would come up, something very dormant, something that I thought I had moved past, or something, just things I didn't think about, but they just would kind of bubble up and express out of me, so that then they could be witnessed. And then the decision could be made, do I keep this pattern with me or do I let it go? So constantly doing that patterning, and you don't have to go to a practitioner to have that happen. It's just a matter of having your own curiosity of what is authentic, what is my body telling me is true, because my mind is telling me something, but the way my body's reacting to things is giving me a different barometer. And I would rather follow my body and its expansion versus contraction, because that's where the truth lies, in ourselves and in the reality outside of us.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So I work a little bit with energy and tension and energy and understanding like that. Yeah, there are some emotions that create tension in your body that you hold on to, and you hold on to those memories, and you can choose to release that with a different emotional reaction, right?
Totally.
And there's so many different ways to do it through what you were talking about, through all of these other things. And I think it's kind of beautiful that people find that in their own way to just learn how to release and let go.
So like, and that's really like, you know, when I was thinking of what do I want this first episode to be about, it really is, there is no one way. There is no such thing as making it and being done, right? So there's a million ways to get there. And it's just your choice of your path. And the only thing that is needed to ignite that or spark that is curiosity. And if there's a second ingredient, it's bravery, because it's scary to confront the patterns that you have. It's scary to let go of the things that keep you feeling safe, even though they might be very harmful, negative reactions to your outside world. And so finding that balance comes at a price of having to let things die that you really think that you need for safety. So,
yeah. Carson and I were just talking about this too, of like, nobody can tell you, because it is an individual maze and it's an individual path for yourself. And your way is going to be very different than the person next to you or the person next to them, because everyone is going to find their own way to release things, their own way to heal, their own way to find their own power. And it's just about recognizing each other as individuals, but that we're collectively going through the same damn thing.
Right, exactly. So it's a hall of mirrors. And love, where does love fit into the equation? So we all have our ideas of like what love is, and a lot of us assign things that have nothing to do with love to love. Comfort, control, safety, all of those things, and especially when we're partnering with people and stuff, whatever we're attracted to at one point is probably going to be a causer of pain at another point. And that doesn't matter if it's relationships with people, a job, anything, because usually when we're attracted to something, there's a desire there. Now, why is there a desire there for that? What is that thing filling for you in that moment in time? And so the more that you can dissolve these layers of yourself, the more you can actually tune into what actual love is. And actual love is very unconditional, and it doesn't claim any ownership. It is like allowing and surrendering and just letting things be. It's not claiming any kind of ownership. So it's just interesting to observe like what we've been told love is versus what actual love is. And having actual love for ourselves is the hardest, because there's everything in this world is designed to keep us from being able to really see and really be what we feel we are, following the body.
I love have you ever read The Kybalion?
No.
So it's really interesting what you were saying about like what you are drawn to and what you love about someone can be something that you hate later. It's because the Kybalion kind of explains that just like on a temperature gauge of hot and cold, they are both temperatures, and there's no temperature at which hot becomes cold and cold becomes hot. And that's just like the emotions of love and hate, and like opposing emotions is like there is no stopping point at which love becomes hate and hate becomes love, because it's very fluid with each other, but it's the same thing. Yeah. So it kind of like blows your mind a little bit to be like, okay, so that is the same thing. We're just looking at opposing ends of that same feeling and that same emotion.
Right. And, something Ram Dass has talked about a little bit is when people are together, there's always somebody that is opening up to the other person, and then the other person is contracting. And then as soon as that opener shuts down, then the contracted person opens up, and they do that dance. And Ram Dass basically says because they're too afraid of love, like too afraid to fully surrender into that two-way reciprocal thing of love, because you have to let go of everything. You have to let go of every ownership, every jealousy, every everything that you want of the other person, because there's no such thing as want in love. And so, of course, feeling these strong connections to something or to someone can flip to hatred on a dime, because it is a very similar feeling. It's just your orientation within that same thing. What is my relationship to it now? Like, you know, a Baba from India would just be completely void of all of that dance, because that whole dance doesn't exist when you're just clear, when you're like a clear mirror of the world. You don't have to go through that, because you're literally just in the experiencing of all of it and separated from it by being fully enveloped in it. So it's like, it's the polarity dance. I function on questions. Like, I really function on questions. It's like, it works really great for me, because it's like, I don't know, I'm just here. And then, question? Okay.
Well, I guess like my question after all of that, because it seems so simple, right? Like, we just fucking love each other, and that's right. What we do. But what do you think, in your opinion, has been standing in the way of us realizing that like love is the vibration to operate on?
Or that we are the vibration of love.
Yeah. You have culture, you have religion, you have family, you have every single element of your reality is designed in a toxic manner that keeps us scared, alone, in shame, cut off. It's hard to understand your vibrational potential when you are so locked in the lower dimensions of feeling that you don't even know what that would feel like. That's why there has to be curiosity and there has to be bravery, because in order to move through this energetic ladder, to get out of so much density, to even be able to perceive more of a world around you, and more of the truth of the world around you, it requires the let go. But when people are stuck in shame and betrayal and hurt and pointing the finger at the outside rather than, okay, this is my experience. Yes, I was hurt. Yes, I was this. Yes, I was this. But I have the control because I am aware of myself. A lot of people just are not fortunate enough to be able to even get to that brain space because of the cultural structures that keep us in lack, scarcity, fear. It's really hard, being a real human being on the earth with like actual struggles, familial abuse and no food and needing to steal to make it happen. How the fuck are you supposed to worry about meditating? And your connection to your world when you're just literally trying to survive in it as this pure baby who was brought up in that. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, like, we are that pure vibration. We are all pure babies. Like, we came here as an authentic expression, and then everything just tries to clamp down on that and keep us in a lower tier of energy. Because if we knew what was possible, if we knew how powerful we are, then those that have been able to siphon everything won't be able to siphon anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's an eventuality. But yeah, it's a trip that people have been so cut off dimensionally from so much more, getting into their heart space, and then, moving beyond that into like a universal love understanding of, oh, we're all the same. And if we could all just let go, then everything would be exactly how everybody dreams life can be.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
I think that's why this time is so important right now, because these people that are in these holes that you're talking about, these poverty holes, these depression holes, this anxiety, they don't think that there's another way. They don't know another way because they've only been shown one way. And I think when people find it within themselves, they can show to other people through example that there is another way, that there is hope, because what cancels out fear is hope. And I think that's what you give people by tapping into that yourself, and by sharing yourself, and by sharing authenticity and those high vibrations, people see that, wow, there's another way. I don't have to live my life like this. I can choose this. I can choose option B. And that's where we're at in humanity right now, is realizing there's a choice.
Yeah.
There's a choice.
There's always a choice. And it's gotten really unique over the last few years, with, society closing down over fear and things like that. Now it's the new tactic, the new way is to get people so invested into hollow causes that to go against that cause will bring upset and will bring fear and distrust of your neighbor. And so we have all these different things happening to make sure that everybody feels marginalized and everybody feels empowered to disagree with anybody who doesn't see it how they see it. So everybody's pushed further into boxes, further away from their truth, further away from wholeness or oneness. And it's really paper thin. It's really silly. But all it takes is, everybody's on their own track. Everybody's on their own track. So I can't say like, oh, people just need to wake up to that. No, because they're living their authentic truth. They're living whatever they're supposed to be living by believing in all these things that are being told to them that make them an enemy of their neighbor rather than a lover of their neighbor. But like, humanity can't grow without opposition. So here we are. Now look at how much we're growing. Look at how much people that you never thought were going to see beyond any kind of illusion of themselves are waking up, are doing the thing. It just comes in waves and phases, and it's just a snowball effect.
Well, and we need, like you said, we need to have that opposition, and we need to be aware of that opposition, because without awareness of the opposition, we can't see the really great things on the other end of that, right?
Totally.
Yeah. And so it's needed, and we need to see all of these like dark facets of reality to realize that there are light facets as well, and it's just one big cohesive thing. We need all of it.
Totally. Like, and even in my life, like, that's the thing. Like, so awareness doesn't matter how aware you are. It doesn't mean that you don't struggle in life, and it doesn't mean that I can like create millions of dollars overnight because I'm aware of how shitty the system is. I'm aware of my own patterns. I'm aware of this. That doesn't matter, because like, you have to still play the system's games, and you have to, kind of, how can I be authentic and real and survive in this chokeholded environment? Because like, everybody is feeling that. Everybody is in one way or another being sucked from, being taken from. And it's like, it's kind of like the training wheels are off. Like a few years ago, really before all of the lockdown type stuff happened, it was like so easy to be connected to however you want to call it, the universe, like connected to the divine. Like, it was all like right there. And at least this is how I was experiencing it during that time. And it's like, as the collective energy has been dropped so low, it is now so much more difficult to connect, and you have to do it through the true real ways of being grounded, like of like getting into the earth so that you can then connect like outside, like being an antenna. Whereas, I feel like before it was like, oh, you could just get high, and then like you can like literally be so close to all that stuff and learn so much. And now it's like, that's not available anymore, because there's not a lot of positive energy here on the earth. There is, but like, you've got to be so resonant with this high frequency, or you're just resonant with like the lower frequency that is like dependent on things.
Yeah.
And so even though you're trying to get higher, like trying to get somewhere, it's like counterintuitive, because there's no cheating. There's no fucking yourself. Like, you can't like go this roundabout way to get there. The only way there, whatever that is through this body system, through your emotions, through your nervous system, like getting like confrontational with your bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what it is. And a lot of people aren't really brave enough for that, or they just don't know how.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that people are going to start getting their bravery because they're going to see it. I mean, you have children. I have a child. I know more than anything that I can tell him things a million times, but he's going to follow what I do. That's how kids work. We are in a world full of tons of inner children all around us. How are they going to learn to be better? Through our actions and us doing those things that create better reactions. And it is not standing for the bullshit sometimes. It is saying, hey, that's inappropriate. That's not how we treat each other. And it is flipping some tables. It is doing those things because in order to change together, we have to stand up for things that are like, wow, that's inhumane and we don't do that anymore. Like we are being better.
Well, and people, when they're confronted with real love, it scares them and they reject it because they can't see it for what it is. So they see it as, a lot of times they'll see it as like ego. And it's like, you don't understand. Like, this is like pure love. Like, this is like the truth coming out of something. I haven't done.
It's labeled
And then, oh, you're crazy. Like, this is, and I feel, because I feel uncomfortable by this, it must be wrong. It must be bad. It must be negative. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of too hard to explain this without like going into the stories of it. But just like being with people, like being around people, that are in the seeking exploration, like there's it's a sourcing exploration. They're all vampiring off of each other. They're like, oh, we're at this healing thing and we're here to be healed, and it's like we're here to like love each other and be that. But like what they don't see is that they're doing all of it so that they can just source from each other and to feel like they got a band-aid over their shit. Because if I come to this social situation and do it a certain way, and they think that they're healing, they think that they're doing something, but at the end of it, like, if you're not truly confronting those things in yourself, then you're literally just like going in this circle jerk that is sending you further and further away from yourself. So just I've gone through a lot of waves in that world, and I've seen the way that like it's just a bunch of children leading children, and everybody's trying, everybody means well, but everybody, when you bring that baggage with you, you're unconsciously fucking people over.
I've had to learn that lesson from the opposite end of, I do create a high vibration. I've been aware of that my whole life, and I work really hard to keep my vibration high, and people feed off of it. And they have fed off of it. And I think learning your own personal boundaries, if you are that person that is providing for other people, learning how to protect yourself first is the most important thing. How do I fill up myself if people are taking from me? And if I do have a high vibration, how can I give, but give to myself so that I have more?
Yeah, I poster child for two things. Poster child for shame and poster child for giving myself to everything, to make everybody else feel okay, to make everybody else feel loved. And so, you know, our biggest weaknesses are our greatest strengths, right? And so more and more and more, my boundaries are so strong. It's like, no, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, no. And like, that's okay. Like that's love for yourself.
Yeah, that's the truest kind of love.
Exactly. And like, we have to care about ourselves first. We really do. And like, that's one of the traps of culture and society is like, no, you need to make way for people. You need to make space for people. You need to allow and allow. It's like, no, like if it's not resonant, if it's hurting me, then I have the right to completely just reject it and remove myself from the situation, or to just voice my opinion of it, of like, no, I do not resonate with you. I don't like you. You're fucking kook. Like, I'm out. And that's okay. Obviously I wouldn't tell somebody they're a fucking kook, like straight to their face. Like, there's humanity boundaries, but it still stands. Like, you don't need to involve yourself with things that don't feel good. And you don't need to give yourself to everything, because when you're doing that, you're unconsciously also being a vampire of like, you're getting something from that give. And so what is that in the situation?
I think a lot of people don't even realize they're doing that because they don't know themselves enough to know what boundaries they need to place in front of people.
If they had any clue,
Mm-hmm.
they would hide in a hole, right, for a little while, because that sucks. Like, but the shame is what keeps people doing it. So it's a loop repeat pattern, because there's something in there that is not reconciled, that's not able to be observed. And that's why we do these things. Again, like, that's why we attract ourselves to people and situations, to help unearth that stuff. But it's up to us if we want to continue in the pattern, or like allow ourselves to like take observational awareness from our shitty experiences. Like, oh, that went really bad. Okay, why? Okay, was I only a victim? Was I only a victim in that whole thing? Like, the whole universe against me, and like, oh, I'm so innocent. Like, oh, my motorhome broke down in Joshua Tree and I need to blame that on everybody else. No, I was high on MDMA when I bought it, and it was $1,800, and I didn't even check the engine before I drove it to the desert. I think I might have had something to do with that faulty situation.
Or,
right?
or even deeper, what if that faulty situation happened to avoid you getting in a car accident had you kept
Boom.
going?
So, and that's the thing too, like, it was perfect. We were stuck in the desert for 3 days, stranded in the desert in Joshua Tree, no help, not enough money to get a giant tow truck to tow this crazy motorhome. Like, just made an extremely ungrounded decision to go, and it was all perfect in every moment. And I knew that. It was just like full let go. It was like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I need this. I need this lesson. And then I had to drive back and forth after we got rescued. I had to drive back and forth to Joshua Tree for like a month, over and over and over, trying to sell the motorhome. And I ended up selling it for the same amount that I bought it for, with a broken engine, because the lady was building an Airbnb in her backyard in Joshua Tree, so she just took the RV. But the moral of that whole story was like, look at how blessed you are, to be so ungrounded and to still be safe. Look how, like, you've got a lot helping you out and hooking you up here. This could be a lot worse. And so it was almost like a lesson without the negative. You know what I mean? There was negatives in there, but like, it was like, hey, we're going easy on you. Please be aware of this, so you don't need an even deeper lesson.
Lessons in gratitude come often. They come often because gratitude is also like a very important vibration. Love and gratitude is what we should operate on at all times.
I mean, gratitude is like, it is love. Like, gratitude, like, so first off, we have existence, right? Like, okay, so we've got existence. Now, how do we feel about that existence? Those are the two vibrations. So it's like, first is existence. That's it. It's nothing. It's just, I exist. Now what's next? How do I feel about it? Am I grateful or am I resentful? And then boom, there you go. There's the parameters for reality. And then we fill it all in with all this other shit. But like, it's that simple. So it's like, am I grateful for this? Yeah. Am I grateful that you guys are here helping me make this? Yes, totally. This is great. Am I grateful that I have a building to be in to make this? Totally. Like, and so then you just like go down the line, and the more truly grateful you can be, not just saying it, but like the more you can feel like appreciation for what this whole reality is like, it unfolds more, because you're saying, thank you, Sky Dad. And then Sky Dad's like, sure, here's this. Like, you know, it's not a dad, it's not any of that, but it's that thing, it's that relationship of, okay, I am the same thing as that thing that is beyond me. And so understanding your place in that relationship and having gratitude is like the channel for creation.
It's like peeling back all the layers, but so many people, like you said, there's two divergent paths that you can go down. And it's like, I feel like a lot of people right now need to be able to see what you were talking about, peel back all those layers and get back on track, basically, because they don't even know how that they've taken this route. You know what I mean?
Right.
to be able to be grateful and peel all that back and get back to their true essence.
Yeah, I mean, if you're still hating dad, if you're still
Mhm.
hating mom, if you're, if, you know, that thing happened when you were 14, that thing happened when you were 17, that thing happened, like, there's something to be upset about. There's always something to be, for your nervous system to be upset about. I'm not just saying mentally, I'm saying like the stuff you can't control, like the way that you feel and believe about your reality based on what's happened to you. All of that is just one perspective. That's just one view of what you call your existence. And so if there's more ability to see why things happen the way they do, like to zoom out and see the interconnectedness of things, and to see that the more power and potential that we have, the more pain and trauma we've endured. It's a ratio.
Well, it's all in how you look at it. I now look at my suffering and I'm excited for it because I know that on the other end of suffering is a breakthrough, because that's usually what happens, right? Everything is divine and everything is happening through me, for me at all times. And the divine joke is, if you look back, everything's synchronistic. It's not just those days and those moments that you notice. If you step back and notice, it's everything, all moments.
Always. And so, yeah, you're either disconnected from it and don't see it for a time, or you're so tuned in and you're like, oh, angel numbers everywhere on the license plates. And like, that's a lot deeper than that. But
well, or even just speaking to people. I mean, there's been times where I talk to strangers and they tell me exactly what I need to hear because I'm tuned in and I understand that message was for me and that came to me.
I've had strangers, like, it was like another being came into them and started saying something about nothing that a guy at the tire shop should be talking about, right? Like this guy's at the counter at the tire shop, and then all of a sudden he starts like saying really specific things, and he said my name before I gave it to him, and it wasn't on their paperwork, and he said my full name, and I was like, bro, you're an angel. It's crazy.
Yeah, we're speaking through each other all the time.
All the time, we are. And oh man, now I've got multiple points I want to talk about at the same time. Shoot. So first off, the subconscious speaks always. Everything that we say out of our mouths there's an element of our subconscious speaking the truth. So anytime that we make a sarcastic joke, a remark, the tone, we are telling the truth of how we feel within that. It makes it really interesting to go to like a family dinner with like unconscious family members who are just in their patterns, because it's like, boom, I know exactly how you feel about me, about this, about that, because you're saying it without saying it. You're saying it through all the different elements of yourself that you're not controlling. So that was one point. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about real quick, and it goes back to what you were talking about gratitude. When I was, over the last year, when I was raising my daughters on my own and needing to stay in my sister's basement, looking for a house for us, and it was absolute hell. It was like my version of hell, right? Very hard, very constricted, and just trying to do everything I could to just create life for my girls, right? Like very little self. But in all of that, I was so grateful. I knew, because what it was my karma cleanup. It was my karma. It was my situation to go through based off of living a lie for so long. So the longer you lie to yourself, the more traumatic the karma will be. When you know the truth and you stay in things that are not for you, it can only go one way, right? It can only get worse. And so while I was in that most low place, all I could feel for it was extreme gratitude. And that gratitude, and it's like I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that something would work, right? And then as time went along, I just had to just accept the suffering, but be grateful for it and just wait. Just be patient. Like, I was like, this isn't going to last forever. So I was just patient. I wasn't trying to make anything happen. I wasn't trying to create anything. I was just in my authentic suffering and not losing sight of why it was there and that it was for me. And then as things go, random things came out of nowhere, little suggestion, like a suggestion from one person lit up my heart, and my heart hadn't been lit up in a long time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to follow that. And so like listening to your body, feeling your body is like the compass for living a good life. And so, yeah, I just wanted to jump back and talk about that of like, things can be so bad. And like, if you can find gratitude in that, then it's like the gateway out of it.
Yeah.
Because you're in it for a reason.
I feel like I'm like the suffering fanboy over here. I know that this is like the funniest thing, but suffering's supposed to happen for that reason that you were just saying, is it humbles you and it opens up your heart so that you can have those heart ignited feelings and have those feelings. And had not you had that suffering, you wouldn't have been open and available for that spark that came. And so that's when I look back at these stages and I get so grateful for that, because those huge heart waves come after I've humbled myself and opened up my heart and let go of everything that is not unconditional love.
Totally.
And suffering does that for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like, looking back to myself before I had those experiences, I'm like, oh, look at the ignorant little baby boy. Like, and I wasn't ignorant at that time, but we just continue to grow. We continue to grow. And that's why, like, an older person, like in their 80s, looks at somebody that is my age and they're like, oh, you don't know anything yet. It's like, yeah, I don't. I don't.
Like you were
how
saying,
can
there's
like,
no destination.
There's no destination. You're just here. And like, there's nothing to fucking fake. Like, it doesn't, that's the worst. Like, that's what catches up with you the most, is like when you live a false identity because it gives you something. I've watched that blow up to the worst degrees for a lot of people. And it's, it comes with the territory of just not knowing yourself and trying to find yourself. But that big like blow up in the face helps you figure out what's real and true. I've seen a lot of people have mental breakdowns, like a lot.
I created a lot of suffering in others not knowing myself, right? And part of the healing process is realizing that too, of being like, oh, I didn't understand in this situation, and I see that I created suffering for that person, and I send them forgiveness for myself in that moment and forgiveness for them in that moment, because that's how we heal.
Yeah.
You have to.
Have you ever been like laying in bed and then you're like just on a thought train and then you just like audibly cringe about like something that you've done like in the past that was just like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. I can't believe I did that.
It doesn't even feel like you because you've moved past that.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, that dude, oh my God. Oh, bye.
Yeah, we're constantly picking up those piles.
Thank God for the present moment.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank God the internet wasn't as popular back in my day.
That one died. I'll keep rolling on that one.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Just kind of all over. Like, I mean, it definitely has a flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you do Reiki?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, like years ago, I did Reiki attunement. Like volume 1, volume 2, whatever.
Okay.
And I love doing energy work with people.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that can look a lot of different ways. And so that's why I kind of joke about like, volume 1, volume 2 with Reiki, because again, it's just, there's a million ways. There's a million ways to do a lot of different things. And it's, it all comes down to awareness and intention, and just clarity. I mean, doing energy work is really just about like channeling the energy through you to the other person, being a conduit. So like when I do energy work with people, I don't do like the Reiki hand symbols and stuff, but I do my own stuff that like feels, because it's like I feel it. It's not, this isn't imaginary. It's not made up, right? So like when you feel energy, when you know how to work with energy, it works you. Like energy works you. Like you're just the conduit and this vessel to bring through this stuff that might not make that much sense to the conscious mind. That's why, like, you know, network spinal analysis, that kind of chiropractic, it looks like hands floating over your back, and then like just like little flicks and like weird stuff, right? But they're creating this whole effect that is like repeatable through like any kind of person. And so it's like there's some validity to it of like, oh, they're actually like doing something. So yeah, there's a million ways to work with the body. There's a million ways to do energy work. But it's really just a matter of like understanding your relationship with the divine.
I was going to ask, because I feel like it was kind of like a gateway or propeller for me individually to understand tangible energy, right? Like all of a sudden it was like energy was tangible to me, and then I could feel it just through whatever keys were passed in Reiki. And so I feel like it's
yeah, the attunement process is like
intense.
I recommend Reiki attunement to anybody.
I do too.
Because because it opens a lot up, right? Like your hands, like your body, your own stuff, totally. Yeah. And so, yes, I totally feel you on that, because like there's so much power in that. And what is that? That's just people coming together with intention and with a physical, tangible expression of that intuition. And so it creates such a powerful effect.
Yeah. A powerful effect, I feel, for personal healing. Like it really helped me understand how to heal myself more, right? And to heal other people too. Like I can sit in a room full of people now because of Reiki and be like, wow, like there's a lot of tension in this room. I can feel it. Send out love. If I'm sending out love because I'm a conduit for love, people will feel it if they're receptive. And I feel like that's changed me too, because I feel like I can influence with me and how, and my thought and my
and
love.
by not doing anything,
by not doing anything, by
doing
thinking,
anything,
by just thinking, and
just by being in the room.
Just by being in the room. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it's like it's so weird because like I don't like to, the way that I like to talk about the past is I'm selective. And part of that is just because like evolving beyond where you were at a time, like we're always changing and shifting. But before like lockdown and everything, I used to lead retreats. Like I would teach retreats all over the country. So like did them in New York, Philadelphia, like Joshua Tree, Mount Shasta, like all the places, you know. And like it was so powerful. It was beautiful in its own way. It was messy. It was traumatic. And it was a lot of observation of, oh, cool, everybody's vampiring off each other. Like I was bringing myself to it, and then seeing how like everybody just wanted to feed on me and not actually do the things to change themselves. And that's not everybody. Like, I mean, there's beautiful stuff that would like happen in those experiences. But anyway, it's just like one of those things that's like waves and phases. Like, would I host a retreat again? No, because I don't think it's necessary for me to be involved in something like that. I think it's a gateway for people. I think people grow and shift and change, but it's kind of like this messy thing when you're dealing with people, human dynamics. Like it's just bound to always be messy. And so I don't know, I feel like there's a different way of like, I feel like it just can be way more instantaneous for anybody to like really shift, really change, really grow. Because like you never need anybody outside of yourself. So how bad do you want it?
Yeah.
How bad do you want it? Like, are you gonna do Kundalini Kriyas every day for 30 days and see how you feel? No, because you just want to be entertained and you want to go to a retreat and you want to have fun and you want to do plant medicines and you want to have a psychedelic experience. Mm-hmm. But there's so much more to actually living on the earth, mm-hmm. and just like finding your medicine from that. I'm not saying anything against psychedelics. Like, I think they're necessary for every person to do at some point in whatever way. Mm-hmm. But I don't like being a part of the dynamic of making money from healing.
Yeah. I agree. I think that that's like a hard thing to talk about, because here I am, I feel like a healer, right? And that is where my energy is the most potent, where I can put in the most potent energy. But I do feel like,
and you should make money doing that.
Yes, you have to be open to the exchange, right?
It's a double-edged sword.
It is a double-edged sword, because I don't have the tools to help people heal them. They have the tools, but I am a conduit for healing.
And you can, yes.
Exactly.
You can be instrumental.
Yes.
And that's why, I've really enjoyed, so I've sold crystals for the last 5 years, maybe 6 years. I don't know. I don't keep track. Now I'm keeping track in my head. I'm like, okay, when was that? So anyway, the cool thing about working with crystals is it's a very individual journey as far as like somebody, so they buy a crystal from me. Now what they do with that crystal is completely up to them. And also, like, it's really up to them, because crystals are just a proxy gateway to your own subconscious. They carry their own energy, totally. Like, they're powerful, but you can have somebody who hates crystals hold one, and of course nothing's going to happen. And then you have somebody who really believes in the power of crystals, and they're going to have something happen. So it's really nice to be able to sell something, like make money from something that is in itself a product, mm-hmm. that has, everybody has their own relationship with that product. So that's been like a nice way for me to, quote unquote, make money from spirituality, mm-hmm. because it's something tangible, physical, like also is just cool that the earth made, like very natural, like, right? Like, mm-hmm. Oh, dope, the earth made this. So,
So
yeah.
I've also had this feeling stirring inside me that, like, I should be changing my relationship with money and should want a massive amount of money. And this is why. Mm-hmm. I think that if people who want to do better things for the earth, that want to change the earth, that want to do things that are going to benefit all of humanity, if money is put in those people's hands, they're going to use it for the right vessels that are going to change the course of our history.
100%.
Right? The money's been in greedy hands for a while. Mm-hmm. The money's been in controlling hands for a while, in non-empathic hands for a while. And when people with empathy, they haven't stood up to these positions before, empathic right. people, because they're empathic and it hurts them.
It hurts, yeah.
It hurts.
It hurts like a motherfucker.
Yeah, so when these empathic people stand up and they become in these positions of power by realizing that we are the power, and then we right. have these tools of whatever with us, we can help change the course of things.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And there's this, like, it is just a different way of doing it. And that's why, like, to everything that you just said, the only way to amass true power is to be so authentic and real.
Authenticity is magnetism.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So, which is, why I'm just doing a podcast. Like, this is why I'm I want to have just like full connectivity with other people of like, here's what I have to share. I hope it benefits you in some way. And on that note, like when I work with people, because I work with people one-on-one here and there, like I used to do it a lot. And then obviously I went through all my own personal turmoil of like deep life situations that I was dealing with. So like, of course, I'm not helping people in that point. I'm in my own space. So now I've opened back up to it. And there's a woman that I'm working with right now. And it's really Because what I do, I'm basically just like a truth mirror. Like I'm like, okay, so here's the truth of it. Like, and I'm not projecting my truth of it. I'm just saying like, okay, so here's the picture that you're painting for me of your reality, of your life. Now I'm going to just connect some of the dots that you can't see, or that you maybe do see, but you want validation on. And so then I just give that reflection back of like, okay, so like, you're saying this, you're saying this, you're saying this, all roads lead to, you need to make this decision. And so like people that actually work with me have to just be willing to see themselves. That's it. And it's really cool because like, so I had my first call with this woman 2 weeks ago, and she just sent me a voice message the other day. And she was like, since we talked, I moved into an apartment and this and this and this, like did everything that in our first call that she knew she needed to do, that she was kind of like, avoiding because that sounds too scary, that sounds too hard. And she's already like a week later doing the thing. She just needed that visibility of like, okay, somebody else sees me. I'm not crazy. I'm afraid. Because like anytime you're going to move in the right direction, something inside of you is going to tell you like, oh, this is not good. Like, no, like, you might be screwing everything up. You might be ruining your life. Like, because that thing wants to stay alive and stay comfortable with how reality's been. So anyway, like when I work with people, it's like, it's so simple, but it really is just like, are you able to see yourself? Mm-hmm. Like, are you willing to see yourself when somebody else can see you? Because I see everybody.
And really listen to yourself too, right? Because like sometimes you're screaming at yourself and you need someone else's permission to be like, okay, I can't quit my job.
No, yeah.
I can do this.
Right, exactly. Because there is people that are on a path that we're on. Like, obviously, like, if you're listening to me, you're somewhat seeking your own awareness, right? So people that are on the path that we're on, it is a lonely road. And it feels psychotic because the world has projected it to be psychotic. And so having community, having validation in a healthy way is so important. It's so beautiful. Now, a lot of us just want to justify our hedonism through community. That's what most of like the spiritual world is just like following bodily pleasure of drugs, sex, everything, and putting a new name on it and saying, oh, but it's this, but it's this, but it's this. It's like, no, dude, you're not grounded. You're not connected to yourself. You're sourcing from other people. You're sharing energy from everywhere. And then you're wondering why you have drama. Like, you're wondering why you have money problems and like your retreats never seem to give you enough money. Like, bruh.
Well, there's a secret language that we're all speaking. We're all speaking through energy, right? So it doesn't matter who's showing up where, it's how you're showing up and what vibration you're showing up as. And
Totally.
You can see that and you can feel that with all of these people that are doing it this way or whatever for like whatever, and you feel that. And the vibration is different when someone is genuinely there for a different purpose.
Totally. And again, it's just resonance. Mm-hmm. Like, you might be, you might have a lot of things figured out in a lot of different ways, but there's always something that we still hold on to that, like, it's like, okay, I consciously evolve more and more and more, but I end up in the same types of relationships.
Mm-hmm. That's a pattern.
It's a pattern. Yeah. It's a hook. It's a pattern. And we all have that. That's the thing. There's no making it. There's no guru. There's no anybody. There's all these dope-ass people who have gotten really far along their own path in order to, teach other people. And that's about it. Like, that's what it is. But they're not perfect. There's no God. Mm-hmm. And I think we just need to get beyond that pedestaling that we are so trained to do. Oh, this person has this info. Like, I need to treat them as above me. Mm-hmm. Automatically, you're fucking yourself. Mm-hmm. And you're setting yourself up to hate that person in the future. Mm-hmm. Because if they're above you, then eventually you want to be above them. Mm-hmm. Because there can only be one I.
The way I like to think about it is We are all expansions for each other. You are either being expanded or you are expanding someone. We are all the same.
Right.
We are all the same. There is no hierarchy of any person, but we are on different levels of awareness. And so my interaction with you, I could be expanded in this moment. And then you could go on and be expanded by someone else. And if we look at it that way, it doesn't turn to jealousy. It doesn't turn to hate. It
Or
turns.
idolatry or
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's thank you.
Yes.
It's thank you. I see you.
Yes.
You see me. I'm grateful. And now let's move on before the energy changes.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
that's the thing. We're so attached. And so we're like, oh, I met this person. They're really cool. I want to be friends with them. It's like, yeah, totally. And then like you hang out with them 3 times and then you're like, I don't ever really want to talk to that person again. They're okay. And it's like, because the energy was just there for a specific reason for an unknown window of time. And then it's done and you don't have to personalize it or anything. It's just like, yeah, thank you. It was great.
I like to tell people that, especially in dating, all we have is moments. We have moments. A moment can last for a day. A moment can last for 3 years, right? But when the moment is over and you can recognize that with the other person, it's okay to like detach from each other and recognize the moment and be appreciative of it and move on.
Right.
You don't have to be hung up on it. You don't have to stay in something longer than it has
And we're
to
also
be.
different. Like everybody is so naturally different. Even, if you believe in astrology being the guider of those things or whatever it is, like we all experience the world so differently, and it's very hard to empathize and understand that because we only know what we've got in this little box. And so some people are very sentimental about everything, oh, that moment meant so much. And so like now I'm bringing that moment with me into the present and then controlling and dictating how reality is now based on that past memory that felt like this. So even like, whether it's doing that with negative memories or doing it with positive memories, it still fucks up the present.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not a very sentimental person, because it doesn't exist anymore. But then it gets crazy because that doesn't mean that I'm right. That's just the way that I experience reality. Because those people that do experience things with sentimentality, it's like there's something really beautiful to that, that emotional depth of like, wow, they feel it. They could cry right now about that awesome day 2 years ago.
Yeah.
They can bring it into that present
And they can
moment
bring
and feel it and relive it.
Yeah. And so it's just like nobody's right, nobody's wrong. We're just all so different that it just creates like, I don't know. Earth is a clusterfuck.
Well, we have amazing moments that we create a feeling that we want to create a mile marker for, right? Whether it be good or whether it be bad. But you have to remember that feeling doesn't have a face, right? It's not tied to a person or attached to a thing. You can attain that feeling in this moment with other things. But the problem is we have that attachment, that it has to be with this person. In this situation, I have to create this feeling again, when it doesn't have to be that. That feeling is there, just faceless.
Totally. So Donnie Epstein is the guy who created network spinal analysis. That's just like one of his modalities because he has a few different... This dude just sees energy. Straight up, he sees energy in the field. If somebody's looking for a word, like while they're talking, he's like, put your finger up and go right there. And then they'll say the word. Like Donnie
Epstein?
Yeah, he sees,
cool.
he feels all of it, right? And so he knows how to work with it and how to help people break past their illusions and stuff. But there's a whole practice that Donnie has, like a whole other thing. And he calls it alchemy. But basically what you're doing is you're taking different emotions, polarizing emotions, something really positive and something really negative, and balancing between the feeling of both, and then building the energy and breathing and basically creating this whole formula in your head that creates so much polarity and expansion that eventually those two polarities pop, and then you're left with kind of nothing, but it's a new neural pathway. It's a new growth into unknown territory beyond those polarities.
So something so funny, I've heard about this before, but how I heard about it before was Nexium did this. Nexium did the same thing. And I remember watching it being like, man, I would fall for that hook, line, and sinker because I know that would work. I know that would work having,
They're Luciferians. They know everything. Like that's the thing. Like, yes, the secrets of humanity aren't secret to everyone.
They're not. Right.
And you have to know how a system works in order to control a system. So like that's the thing. Like we're kept in the dark of like what it is to be a true like fully embodied human. And then you have, I don't want to go too deep into this, but then you have like shame-filled people that know how to manipulate that energy and be fully embodied, but embodied with extreme shame. And so that makes you a monster. That's like everybody that runs everything.
Yeah, so I've heard about
an
this.
Embodied monster.
Yeah, so they can't attain the power within themselves because it's not pure. They can't attain everything, so they have to siphon it from other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you're not how can you when you reject the divine?
Yes, you can't
tune in and use it as an energy source.
Yeah, but
so
they find
there's
other ways.
Yeah, exactly. Manipulation. So it's the inversion. And like so that's the thing. We're dealing with inversion in every department of our lives. And especially these days with social media and how much can be projected to people as normal, it's all inverted. Everything is turned upside down. And all with the hopes that people just get so disconnected from themselves that there's never any chance to understand their power.
We had a good friend we went and had lunch with the other day, and she said a good thing is to always ask yourself, is this situation controlling me, or do I have a choice in this, right? And that's like a really good thing.
Or is it freedom?
Yeah, is this control or is this freedom? And that's a question that we're all asking right now, right? Is okay, this is being placed before me. Is this control or is this freedom? Okay, I'm going to choose the freedom. The freedom is my choice. And I have to ask myself this because there is so much out there that is, I do want to have control over you in this. I do want to have control over your energy. I do want to have control over your time. And it's like, okay,
Your
I'm
body.
not going to choose that. Done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but so there just has to be enough, how do I say this? You just have to be aware enough to know that you're worth something.
Yeah.
You just have to know that you're like, no, I'm an individual that's like worth something. I'm not just a mindless consumer.
Well, and a powerful magic being. I mean, we're capable of so much.
Yeah.
We just forget.
Yeah. I've seen lightning come out of my fingertips.
I feel that. I feel
crazy.
that. Yeah.
That's
I'm like
crazy.
little Pikachu. I've got lightning flowing through me all the time.
Crazy stuff, man. I've seen some wild shit. That's actually something I want to have an episode about mystical experiences.
I would love that.
Because the stuff nobody talks about. Like that's the real stuff that nobody talks about is how mystical experiences can be and how real they are and how much they relate to our experience here and like figuring out our own experience and our own power and self-worth. Dude.
Yeah,
I've had some real shit.
I have energy. Yeah, we will. I have energy pulse through me at such an alarming rate that it almost looks like I have Tourette's to people sometimes.
Oh,
like
no, totally.
There is weird shit.
No,
right?
full convulsions.
Yeah.
And I've done some crazy stuff with different energy states before, and like crazy stuff with breath work. Yeah, it's just nuts. And then just like the other, like the random stuff, this goes into aliens, this goes into, or, quote unquote aliens. It goes into like, one time I saw dragonflies in my backyard. So I saw a red one, and the next day I saw an orange one. And then I was like, I'm going to see the entire chakra rainbow in order. And over the course of 2 weeks, in order, boom, yellow dragonfly, green dragonfly, blue dragonfly, darker blue dragonfly. I was like, how are they going to do this? And then it was a darker blue dragonfly. And then the last one was this crazy purple dragonfly that had an extra halo over the top of its wings. It was like super mecha dragonfly, and it was like bright purple.
Wow.
And I'm like, what the hell? So then it's like, okay, so did I speak that, or did I speak it because it already was happening? And both are true. Doesn't matter.
Thoughts always come before reality. Always. Thoughts always first, right? So if you thought it, you did create that, and you created that in your life because you thought of it. And then in another dimension, it was now pulled down into this dimension.
Right. Now let's go one deeper. Everything all the way through the line is you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So here I am, and as God, here I am. And I'm playing this dance with myself all the way down the line.
You are the dragonfly. You were all the dragonflies.
And now, then, yeah, exactly. But but then it's like the only thing that you have to be careful of, this is for a very small ratio of people who would actually go psychotic and do this, but you have to be careful with the ego identification of what that means of I am God. Because I've seen that get tricky for people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the God complex.
God complex. Ram Dass talks about it a lot in Be Here Now.
You can see when people attain at least a level of that, and you can see it at play.
They're like, I'm Christ, man, far out.
Well,
Yeah,
cool,
I'm Christ
but
too, bro.
we all are.
See,
Yes,
exactly.
we all are. And so it's
that
recognizing that
personal identification.
I have power, but you have power. And because I can tap into this power myself, you can also tap into that. And that's where it's not so egocentric, right?
Exactly. And then there are times where you're you feel like you're the most embodied in your true truth, ever. And not being able to be seen by other people in that.
Mm-hmm.
And, basically feeling like you're Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and not in a mental ego way, but in a way of understanding what love is,
Mm-hmm.
understanding how much you love everything.
In an energetic way, or in your consciousness, you're embodying that, but you're not identifying with the label of what that is.
It's just because why are those attributes important? Why is it important to be humble and everything else that goes along with that, right? That's what's really interesting is what was wrong with that? What's wrong with being those different things? But all of those things push up against people's egos. All of those things push up against how people want to live their life.
It pushes up against the society we live in, pushes up against the way things should be.
Yeah, exactly. More self-centered. That's it. It's really weird. It's cut off from everything, self-centered, or connected to everything, selfless. It's one or the other. Anyway.
I feel like the more in alignment you are with that, right, of feeling the embodiment of Christ conscious or whatever that is, there are going to be people that are uncomfortable with that stuff and people that can't even look you in the eyes. I've had that. And that's okay.
Totally.
It's okay to shine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay to shine and let people be uncomfortable with you.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, well, because in the face of anything pure, of course, those with ill intentions are gonna they're gonna contract. They're gonna fucking hate it.
Mm-hmm. Right back.
And so I've seen some, again, I brought this up because we were kind of talking about mystical stuff. This has kind of been during more mystical times of retreat type atmosphere. But when you're surrounded by people that are seeking outside of themselves, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Well, they just changed it's the same game. They just changed where they're playing it. Now it's in spirituality or whatever, but they're still doing the same thing. It's whether you're healing, you're looking externally for that. Whether you're loving, you're looking for love outside of yourself. Whether you're whatever, it's the same exact thing, just different faces.
You're alone always, forever, no matter what. All the way through the line too. So that's the whole funny thing of it's all you. So Gotta get used to it. And that's why the things that help us don't help us forever. Shortcuts are shortcuts. They don't work. And I'm guilty of that too. Like, I'm not saying perfect in any way. It's like, but I know that any kind of shortcut that you're using for your, for conscious expansion, you're fucking yourself in one way or another. And I have fucked myself plenty of times.
We were talking about this today on how important when you are doing your spiritual advancement or whatever, like you get these drips, these divine drips of different vibration, of awareness, of whatever, but there are these quiet times in between, like your integration periods, just like with anything. And people get so uncomfortable in those times because they want to move. They're like uncomfortable in their skin. They want to go to the next thing.
They want to keep expanding.
But the thing is that, that integration is so important because you're understanding.
Why you did it.
That's why you did it.
That's why you did it. And that's my big beef with this whole system at play, because it's like, oh, I did this combo retreat, and then I did ayahuasca, and then I did MDMA, and then I did mushrooms and mescaline, and I did this one. Oh, I went to Tulum to do this. I did this. And it's like, so you keep going to the crown over and over and over without a root stability. You're on a one-way track to insanity.
Yes.
Literal insanity.
Well, because you have to understand what's been integrated into your life, right? Like you have this understanding, this new understanding. You've let go of whatever weight. That's going to change your reality. So you have to understand what change that is, how you go on from here, and how you integrate that into your life. And if you've skipped that and you're trying to chase the next thing, you're not going to be ready for it, and you're going to get slapped.
Exactly.
And we're human, and we're having this experience, and like you said, the grounded nature of it, like rooting yourself to earth is important because that's where we are.
Boom. And like, do we want to have an impact on this reality, or do we just want to float through it and get back to that place that we've probably been forever, like for beyond the measure of time, right? Like there's not time within that like oneness. And so we're so eager to escape the realness of this experience, but the realness of this experience is what's actually psychedelic. That's psychedelic, is like the realness of this reality. And if we want to have any actual like lasting impact on the energy of this world, we have to be an authentic energetic signature. And if we're just the version of ourselves that we are when we're high, then we are not a full resonance of like our true authentic expression. We're cheating. We're pulling it from the future. So like the way I look at it with like using substances and stuff is like you're robbing from future energy to bring it to the now. But yeah, it's just like the lack of like grounding doesn't allow it to go anywhere. It doesn't anchor into this physical structure that we have called the earth, and like bleed that out to be, I don't know, just fully worked with people.
Trevor Hall has like an album that's called In and Through the Body. And I always think of that because it's like in and through, like inward and through your body is like where you find your authenticity, like where you find your path and your what we're doing here. And it's like a lot of people aren't even in their bodies, like you said.
Yeah, and we came here as it.
Yeah.
Like we came here as that authentic expression, and then just like systematically got chiseled away. And so why do we actually need all this crazy shit? Why do we need to do all this crazy shit to get back to something that already has always been there? But we're on this little like identity crisis. This is like I feel like very specific to like our generation of people having the internet, because we feel this insane identity crisis because we have so much information available to us, and then we have enough awareness to see that our system is just fuck all like terrible for us. Our food is terrible for us. Everything is killing us. So it's like, what do we do with that? So we it creates this feeling of like, I'm something different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not this. I am not this environment. I am something else. And so we want to just like wash away all that stuff. And so like, of course we want to expand, we want to learn and grow, and like do the mushrooms and see ourselves more and let go of those emotional, bondages. But I don't know. I'm done with that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like we're trying to escape like the system, not really like, but then we end up kind of escaping ourselves.
But then we try to escape ourselves. Yeah, exactly. Like you're not some far off, magical, mystical, different version of yourself that you've never even seen. There are parts of you, that you have not seen. There are parts of me, I have gone through so many different waves with myself and my expression as I've gone through this, and I feel like I'm in a place where I'm very contracted. Like I'm not my fullness of myself right now. Mm-hmm. I'm building energy for sure, but there's still a lot of things that keep me subtly contracted. And there was something else I was going to say about that, but.
Well, our generation is an interesting one. Our generation's doing a lot of things. We're understanding the poverty curse. We're understanding that we are very educated and very underpaid in the system that was created for us. That's creating something. We also are so used to instant gratification from the internet and from getting everything at our fingertips. All the questions that we want, it's all at our fingertips. So we have to learn patience and we have to unbreak that. We also are carrying generational curses from our family and all of this stuff and generational traumas that we as a generation are breaking because we're saying no more. And it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on our generation to be like, wow, okay, we've been given no choices, so we're making choices. Right. And so because we have to make those choices, we are pioneers in something completely different. And it is an uncomfortable place to be, but we have to do it. We're creating this bridge because we have to. We have no other choice but to see other choices.
Yeah, and we're not able to just capitalize off of the giant pool of idiots that just mindlessly consume, because we deal in resonance. We deal in energetics. And so the pool of resonance is so much smaller for us, right? For people on this wavelength and this path, and like however you want to fucking call it. Like we're just I don't know. Done with that thought. Because it's like, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, how great.
It's not a bad thing. We're just creating our own world. It's just a small world.
Yeah, I was going to say how great for us to be able to take our pens back, to be like, wow, we can write a new reality and we can write a story based on what we want and not what we've been told our whole lives.
Yeah, and it's just difficult because we're carving it out of nothing.
Which I think that's why we are all sitting in this room together, actually, is like because we've kind of all had that message and like that hope, like you were saying at the beginning of this. It's like, hey, there's another way to do things. Like look at like there's hope over here. You don't have to keep writing the same story. Like there's a different world to be lived. There, you can create a different reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is all choose your own adventure. Mm-hmm. Like we're choosing our own adventure in every moment, and it's like, okay, so are we? What are we choosing in this moment? Are we choosing Taco Bell and McDonald's? Are we choosing juice? Are we choosing to resent the person driving in front of us? Are we choosing, like, what are we choosing?
Yeah,
and you're choosing everything, and like it comes from inside. That choice comes from in your heart. It doesn't come from your mind even. It comes from what you've experienced. So all you have to do is be able to observationally see yourself to start impacting greatly your reality and the reality of others.
Exactly. If I want to see more peace in the world, I am more peace in my interactions. If you come to me at something that makes me feel contentious, I respond with only love and not content, right? And that's how we create the ripples that create the difference. Is if I want peace, I'm peace. If I want love, I'm love. And with every interaction around me, that is what I'm operating on.
Straight up. 100%. And then sometimes I'm like, I want cookie, so I am cookie.
Yes, but you create the cookies because you can do that.
I am creator. Cookie creator.
I am cookie creator. No.
Yeah, but actually, speaking of cookies and coffee, things like that, like every interaction that I have everywhere I go is in positive orientation. It is beyond how 99% of the world interacts with their coffee shop people, with their cookie person, like with anybody, anywhere. It doesn't matter where I am in public, because that's my signature. That is my actual resonance, is like love and gratitude for people, appreciation, being able to see their pain and their struggle and letting them know that I see that just in the way that my eyes meet their eyes. And that empathy of, yo, I see you and I love you. It just like creates the best interactions ever all the time. And so when people like hate their world, are like, man, it's you. It's you. Like, because it's what you're focusing on. And again, it's choose your own adventure. There's a lot of assholes in the world, and there's a lot of great people in the world. There's a lot of people who just act like assholes because they're not being met with anything to make them feel differently. And so it's like, I don't care who you are, what's going on. I'm going to do what I do. And then, again, there are some people who just suck. And so you just like remove yourself from that situation. There's nothing you can do about that. But you also don't need to harbor anything about it. It's over. It's done. Yeah, that person was an asshole. Cool. Move on. That moment is done. Like, to fixate on anything is just like, man, you're wasting your energy. Holy shit. And you're wasting mine because I have to listen to it.
Yeah. And it's okay to not participate in those things. If people are gossiping around you and saying something about someone that you don't want to hear, if they're not there, it's okay to stand up and be like, hey, that person's not here. I don't really want to talk about this, or to exit the conversation, because the second that you say something, the second that you input into that gossip, you're a part of gossip conscious, and that's you, and you're there, and you've left that pile there, and then you have to pick that up later down the road because you said that negative thing.
Totally. I mean, I had to be very... Even talking about it now, I'm like, okay, I have to be careful about talking about how I was careful about talking about it. Yeah, like with my whole separation and divorce and the stuff with the kids and everything, I kept it so low key. I didn't bring my drama to social media. I was very protective of every single side of it, like my side, my ex's side, my children's side. I was able to stay observational in the whole thing, and to not cast anything, even if it was true, it doesn't matter. Like, not give people something to feed on. That is drama. And so, because our life was very public. Her Instagram following was big. Like, a lot of people knew who we were. Like, we'd go out in public. Like, we'd go to Disneyland and people would try to hug my kids. Just weird internet meets reality type shit. And so then to be such like an integral, like kind of codependent, but co-mingled thing. And then not give anybody any answers, and all of a sudden it's like everything's gone dark, and like where are they, what's going on, and to not give people the satisfaction of making my reality their entertainment. So anytime I post a thing on Instagram, like, ask me questions, people always ask like about the relationship or about how she's doing and stuff, and it's like and like the true answer is like, great, fine, good. But like, I just don't give anything to it, because if they're, do you see what I mean about it being entertainment?
Yeah.
And not a real life. And so, because we've been trained to make, reality TV, like, people emotionally identify. I don't know who, but like a lot of people, I guess, emotionally identify with the Kardashians. They identify with these characters that are real people, and they relate it to their life.
So even when like my relationship was ending, I would have people message me that I should stay in it because it was touching too close on their abusive relationship that they were in. And they didn't want to confront. They're like, so I'm a tent pole. Like, oh, their relationship means the world to me because it's out in the public. And so if their relationship is ending, what does that say about me and my relationship and my world? And like, so they couldn't handle it. It's really weird shit. Weird shit coming out of unconscious minds of people who just don't see. They don't see.
Well, also, I don't think people realize how vulnerable it is to put yourself out there like that. There's something that calls you to it, obviously, right? To
Right.
help people, because there's people that you're helping.
Well, yeah, because like reflection. It's just like, hey,
Yeah.
look at this. Like,
But these people, these thousands of people, these hundreds of thousands of people, these whatever online, they're watching you and they think they intimately know you, even though they don't. And that's hard, because if someone's walking up to you and they know everything about you and you know nothing about them, it creates a not two-way street. And so that's
and I handled it really well always because I love people, right?
Yeah,
I meet you and I see you and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. All right.
yeah.
Sweet. I love you. You're great. And so it never bothered me. I was down to be open until it backfired. And it taught me the lessons of privacy and how important it is to have some elements of your life be private rather than everything on display for people to consume.
Yeah. Energetic cords are real, right? And so when you're putting yourself out there and people know intimate things about you, they do have a cord that's connected to you. They have energy
They're
that they can
thinking
throw.
about it.
They're thinking
Their
about
thoughts,
you.
literally, like
Their judgments, whatever it is, thrown through that connection. And so it is good to be discerning on what you're putting out there and what you are keeping to yourself.
And because I kept it to myself, I also then had to deal with accusation. And that was insane because I kind of did the thing that like not very many men do of fully taking every responsibility for my children and doing the thing. And so I had people who didn't understand what actually happened. They didn't know anything because I didn't say what happened, but like accusing me of like leaving my family. And it's like, I don't know, I've got the girls like all the time. What do you mean? Like typical man abandoning his family for another woman. And it's like, bro, that's like nowhere near anything of the truth of like what my whole situation has been. So like, again, that person has dad issues. Like that person literally, like as they said later in the message, like like my father and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, no shit, because you like literally can't get over it enough that you project it onto somebody else that you don't know online.
Creating a story for you.
Creating a story, it's not accurate, not true. And so do you see how like easy it is to be self-aware, and like not very many people are willing to do it?
Yeah, well, because they don't want to take the responsibility. It's so easy to blame someone else and be like, it's your fault that I'm like this. It's your fault I feel this way.
I'll look at yours. I don't want to look at mine.
Well, because like victimhood happened and then it took over. Like, that's why everybody's innocent. Like, because everybody's been through shit. And so some people just really believe that their shit defines everything else about like what happens to them. It's like, boom, trauma.
I was married for 10 years.
Okay.
We are just different people. It just took us 10 years to realize we were different people.
Totally.
And I could have come out of that with a story of, I am a victim. He did this to me. He did this to me. And upon looking back in my own healing process, I see how we hurt each other. And I was just as much at fault as he is. And so it's crazy the stories that we tell ourselves when we come into that victimhood. Are we really scoping out and seeing the whole thing? Right? Are we really seeing what part my energy had to play in my own demise?
Yeah. And 100%. That has me thinking about so many different things. And it's like, also, so yes to the negative side of that. Like, nobody's innocent, right? Like we all play our parts. And then it made me think of how, just trying to make somebody happy can be like at the expense of yourself.
can be so damaging for that person. It doesn't teach them anything. It doesn't help them learn what they need to learn. You're only delaying it for both of you by, you know, going easy on somebody, by just like, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. That one's hard to put into words.
Yeah, I know what you're saying though.
But like, I just see how like me letting everything slide for so long created a really bad situation for everybody involved. And it's like, if I would have had those boundaries.
Yeah, you stop lying to yourself and you start saying, wow, this is not for me. I need to be honest about this, which is a hard conversation to have.
And that was a part of my awareness, you know, unfolding journey. At one point, something happened that was so just beyond felt unsafe for me. And it woke up this whole realization in myself of like, oh my God, I deserve to have a boundary. I deserve to say what's okay and what's not okay. Like, I'm allowed to do that. And I never realized that before. And so it was, you know, that was a big moment in my whole, you know, years unfolding of like really waking up to myself and my patterns. And I was like, holy shit, like, I'm allowed to have a boundary. Wow. I'm allowed to
I read something once.
Some space.
I read something that was talking about that quote that we often hear, like, I would die for you. I would die for you. But would you live? We always tell people that we would die for people and I would do this, but it's like, would I live for you? Would I live for my children? Would I live for everyone I love for? Because living for myself is the most important thing I can do for everyone around me. It's not, I'm going to kill myself to make you guys happy. It is, I'm going to live for myself, and that's the best thing.
And the number one lie about love keeps everybody from being their authentic self. Like the lie of love, what we think it is, like the ownership aspect of, and I'm a proponent for commitment, like commitment to somebody. Like, if you want to do that, if you want to commit to somebody, like, that's cool, but that doesn't have anything to do with love. Because we associate, oh, because I love this person, now I have to set up all these fences and parameters and boxes that says they only love me back if they exhibit each of these behaviors. And if any of those behaviors are not to my delegation, then that's not love. I'm not loved. And I am now in danger. And I am now jealous, hurt, afraid. And so, like, we fuck each other out of ourselves by claiming love. Because it's not something you can claim.
And claiming love for one individual. I went up to a ceremony a couple weeks ago and I walked away falling in love with 13 different people, 13 different ways. They didn't even have to be this romantic partnership. It was just falling in deep love with another human. And I think that it's an important thing to be open to all of that. Is love has many different languages and many different meanings, and it doesn't even have to be tied to just, I'm not supposed to just love one person. Love is meant to be shared with everyone. And it's okay to love everyone I come into contact with. That's all right.
Right. Yeah. And so, and that can go into so many different departments and segues, right? It's just a matter of like, am I keeping the energy integral? And am I trying to get anything out of this? Am I trying to source anything or feed anything out of this? Or am I just truly, I see these people, I see them and I love them. That's really all it needs to be. And then, of course, we have the romantic partners that it's like, I really see this person and I really love this person. But that only makes us want to control it more. Right. And so that's a trip. Yeah. So I've always had a hard time with that because it's like, I was born wired this way of like understanding love to a certain degree of like what it means to let go of somebody and still hold on to them, right? Like, I'm not holding you and controlling you, but I'm also here for you, with you.
We were talking about how we wanted to write a book about breakups on how to let go and love, because it's okay to break up with someone and still love them. you can still love them
Totally.
and break up with someone and your life go two different directions. But because of like our human nature and what we've been doing for so long, that same little temperature gauge of hate and love, all of a sudden we love someone, we break up with them and it turns to hate. And then we hate them for the rest of our lives. And we
Silly.
don't have to do that. It's silly.
Yeah.
It's silly. Why make someone your enemy when you loved them so much for so many years?
Yeah, I can't. I couldn't do that. It's just so weird that nobody can let go. Nobody can like effectively let go.
Because it's uncomfortable. But guess what?
Yes.
Being uncomfortable is where all the magic happens. And we haven't realized that yet.
Well, it's just funny. Like we want to hang on to dead things. Energy, like if you're already having the discussion, like the energy is moved. Like here we are in this new energy, but it's like, nope, got to keep it the way it's been. And it's like, but now we're just lying to ourselves more and more and more and more, not letting things just be authentic and move and fluid. Like reality changes so much all the time. Like our world's changed so much, and like we're here to grow from each other and love each other and learn from each other. And but we have to like really do all that with ourselves first before we're even intermingling that with another person. So it's just messy. Like I totally just want to be alone forever. I think that's the way. And like I don't know, that I just think we've put a lot of power into other people being something for us. When it's like,
but that's why I think why we're all drawn to have these times of solitude is so that you can find out that, wow, I am everything in myself. And I don't have to get this from another person because I am that. I encompass everything. And that's one of the most important lessons that any of us can learn is I am powerful. I am powerful by myself without anybody, without a partner, without a this, without a that.
true self-love.
Yes, true self-love.
Yeah.
Me. It's all me.
It's all me, baby.
Yeah, and if you can't get there, you can't be in a positive partnership because it takes two whole people loving themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different dynamic. And yeah, I'll keep it there.
I see like even like right now a lot more breakups, like a lot more of this happening because of that very reason. It's like people are waking up to the fact that like they didn't really put themselves there necessarily. I mean, they did.
No,
but like, there's conditioning,
society,
there's systemic
culture,
things,
like
all of
everything put you there.
And it's like one day it just, wait, this isn't me. And that's why those times of solitude, it's like where you can actually find yourself and start creating your reality based on your essence and who you are.
Not
looks different
based on
and
how somebody else is comfortable.
And that codependency we have with the system, with our families, with the culture, with our partners, that's everywhere. It doesn't have to have a face either. It's codependent energy.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's like, wait a second. Okay, I need to take this back and figure this out. And I see a lot of that happening right now.
Yeah. I was taught that, you know, from a young age, I was taught that I couldn't do it for myself. Like that's what my reality showed me, and I believed it, and I put myself there. Dude, my mom did my homework for me, like most of my life, because she didn't want me to fail, and because I was just like I didn't care, and like, so it'd be like I'd have a project due. I was like, Mom, I have a project due, and I was so like failure to start, like. If it was started for me, I could then like flow with it and like make it and do it. But I was just so terrified of like projects and tasks and doing because I never got pushed out of the nest to like figure that out myself because I always had that backup of like somebody to help me, somebody to take care of it for me. And then, so that was my modeling from my family system. And then religious system basically put the same modeling on me as well. You can't be trusted. You can't be trusted to do anything with yourself because you're just fucking terrible. That's what like religion then put on top of that. And then school, like teachers telling me I was a sinking ship. I was like, okay, thank you very much. I'm in 4th grade. So like all of these things. So now in my adult life, I still put myself under systems. Because out of fear of what would I do with it if it was just me. And so now I'm in this place in myself of like, I trust myself. I am very capable. I'm very good at loving myself and living for myself. So like, what can I do? I just think like I'm going to be powerful as fuck, like as an individual being, because again, our weakness is our strength. Like I've never been individual without a other relationship that like keeps me in a box, you know, in one way or another. Relationships are going to do that, like especially with how I am in here. Like it's never going to be easy and like fun for the most part. It will feel like control and containment. And so it's like, cool. I get to like actually, I get to prove to myself that like I'm good at this whole living thing.
My biggest thing that I've had to break down is with my parents as well. The subconscious from your parents is so deep, right?
Oh, dude.
It's the deepest one.
Oh my God.
And I find myself as a 32-year-old woman being like, man, are my parents going to be proud of this decision? Are they going to be okay with me doing this? Are my parents okay with this? Are they going to like this? Are they going to be proud of me? And it's like, whoa, okay. In order to do what I need to do, it's going to be very different than anything my parents would even comprehend. And I had to break that down with me of being like, okay, I'm going to shake and rattle my parents a little bit. I'm going to do things that they don't understand. They're going to be really upset about it, but it's for my best good, and that's okay. And I think that that's a hard thing for people to do, even as
100%.
adults.
Yeah, totally. And so it's fun because I get to do it on both sides. I get to do it on my own personal side. And then with my daughters, I get to raise them a certain way.
Yes.
Right. And so that's really cool because I get to do it so differently than it was done for me. So they are they're really good at self-soothing because I'm not going to overdo it for them because they need to kind of understand the concept of like, you're alone here. And so love yourself from the start. And so equipping them with like that self-confidence to love themselves and to understand their nature here and how they treat people and how they interact with other people and how much it matters. So like that's where my focus is at, like with parenting. And it's really cool to see that like unfold.
Yeah.
Like took them from a really terrible situation and just followed my gut on creating stability and the amount of shift and growth that they've had in the last year of feeling stable in themselves. Like my oldest one couldn't even be left alone in a room without having crying breakdown. Even like just walking out of the room to get water and she would freak out. So that much unease in her nervous system to now it's like, say goodnight, I love you, like close the door, see you later. Like just really comfortable in herself.
Think about how amazing the next generation of kids is going to be because as we are becoming more aware as humans, we are becoming more aware and conscious parents. Totally. And we are doing it differently and we are taking care of their emotions. We are taking care of how they self-soothe. We are taking care of how they help themselves. And it's different. I feel like things are changing. So
totally.
We have all of these kids that are limitless. They believe in themselves. They know how to tap into their creativity. They haven't been told that they're stupid or they don't belong. What's going to happen? These kids are going to grow up to be amazing creatures because we're not placing this.
You're a bridge to that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're creating their potential. They're starting at a different place than we started.
Right.
And that bridge is going to create a totally another timeline. It's a totally another world.
It really is. Yeah. And it also goes the other way too. Like this time of reality for kids, it's all gonna wash out fine. Kids that are raised by iPads and just completely absorbed in technology and everything. But everything has a pendulum. Everything has a counterbalance to it. And so look at how eager we've been to find ourselves in a false reality. And so I feel like they're going to get sick of it. By the time those kids are adults, they're going to be like, this is not right. This is not good. I was screwed by being on an iPad Like,
what does
and
that
then,
world look like?
but
so
then,
deep
but
into
then
that?
they're gonna counterbalance to natural, right? Like, I really feel like this major synthetic life will push so many of them into the pursuit of something natural as they get older.
So my son's got a little bit of a technology addiction. It's a hard
So
thing.
do my kids.
Yeah,
like,
hard thing for me to handle. And
I'm good about it, but
what
geez.
what I tell
Unstoppable.
him all the time is you need to stop spending so much time in someone else's imagination when yours is so great.
Boom, boom. That's
Yeah.
it. Like, that's the constant conversation. Is like,
Yeah.
these are all just things created by other people. And if you're
Yes.
absorbing all of it, you're never going to create anything
Yes.
of your own, because your subconscious is going to be flooded with all of this
And
garbage.
That's the human superpowers. We have creativity. We have creativity in thoughts. We can create. Oh my God! Look at all the stuff we created, right?
Right.
And if we can't tap into that, and our kids can't tap into that because they're so consuming everyone else's, it's going to be detrimental for them. They're not
Yeah.
going to be able to express themselves, understand all this stuff.
I was teaching photojournalism to 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and it was a trip. That was a exploration of adolescence, because those ages are just wild these days. So, like, trying to teach these kids that are just completely addicted to Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite and all of this crazy shit, and getting them beyond those filters in their subconscious to get to like a place of purity to create their own art. It was so difficult to even get them to glimpse their own imagination, because it's so overwhelmed with all this other crazy stuff. So we'd play a lot of imagination games where we'd like create our own planet that's like, you know, just everything is like however we imagine it. And like we go, one kid says something and we build on it, right? And without fail, you know, it would go good. And then without fail, somebody would say like, and they'd throw in SpongeBob, or they'd throw in Pokemon, or they'd throw in this stuff that already exists. And it's like the whole point of the game is to try to just like create something pure from your imagination. And like so many kids are able to, and then other ones literally, they're just like, all they can do is recall. They can't create. They can just recall stuff they've already experienced, because they're just kind of like, you know, a mindless consumer.
Yeah, repetition, programming, habitual learning.
Exactly.
But like you were saying earlier, a new fresh baby can only have the world that they perceive, right? They only get what they intake. And if that's what people are intaking, if that's what babies are intaking, that is all they know.
Straight up.
That's it.
And so that's why I feel like, well, it might not be a bad thing, because the overwhelm of information will, I feel like, expose. It will, I don't know, it will crack the bubble. It will expose what is actually real and true, because the mind will get so discontent with the mindless bullshit, because it's going to get bored eventually. So like when these kids are so inundated and nothing satiates them, then maybe getting high off of your breath will satiate you. Maybe having a connection to a visceral, mystical experience will offer more dopamine than
The metaverse.
the metaverse. Yeah, exactly. And again, like, people are just kind of oriented to whatever timeline they're going to go toward. So we have the evolution in the synthetic, and we have the evolution in the organic. So it's going to go both ways. Like, metaverse is going to take off. It's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be a whole section of reality that goes, because what this basically is cellular division. So we're in that really uncomfortable spot where a cell is agitating and dividing, but it hasn't divided yet. So we're in that bubble agitation. And then when it fully splits, it's going to be two completely different things. It's going to be two different worlds. This one over here, opposite polarities. And then it will continue to do that, because that's what it's already been doing. So like everything is just cellular division. It's like, if you really want to break it down, like everything, spirituality, all of it, like
it all fits in. It is just cellular division, and that's all it's ever been. The one God splitting to not be alone, but oh wait, oh, still alone. Oh, still alone. Oh, still alone. So it just goes down and then back up. That's it. That's it. That's reality. Boom, boom.
Crack the code, mic drop.
Bam! So that's probably, crack the code with Toph. Welcome to Crack the Code. I can't even say it. So white. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Crack the Code with Toph, where we're going to try to crack the code. Every episode, a different code to crack.
Never ending code to crack.
The podcast with no name.
No name. You haven't thought of a name yet.
I just wanted to be my name.
Yeah, I like it.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think
It's a wrap.
That's all right, everybody. It's episode 1. Do you like my structure and organization? Oh yeah, be sure to smash that like button. It looks like a bell if you want to get some notifications. And don't forget to subscribe. Giving away a free drone after 1,000 subscribers. Be sure to mindlessly give me $7 a month on Patreon. And
777.
what else? Sign up for my OnlyFans. Only Tophs.
Only toast.
All Tophs, all the time, baby. Dude, yeah, I've had so many crazy experiences. Should probably turn off the mic if I want to talk about this other stuff.